Hello and welcome back to the Dublo Railway. Today I'm featuring my Class 20s, of which I have 5. There we are. In varying states of repair. Cosmetically, they all go well. They've been marvellous runners, and they have, as far as Dublo is concerned, a unique motor. These also survived into the Wrenn era. They're a model with a plastic body, 4-wheel bogies, and in 3-rail form they're really great runners. I can't speak for 2-rail. I've never had a 2-rail one. I've never run one. The thing that attracted me to these is that I grew up in the Antipodes, and in both Australia and New Zealand, the early diesels were often built by English Electric. And about 30 kilometres from where I live, there's a Railway Preservation Society with a Tasmanian X-Class, which is a very similar design to this. It's got an earlier series motor, a K-series prime mover in it, a 6-cylinder rather than an 8, such as these. And it's got a power output of about 600 horsepower, but it looks very much like one of these, very similar design. And a little later, New Zealand Railways ordered a batch of what they call DE class locomotives. Again, 600 horsepower, 6-cylinder prime mover with a turbocharger. And I grew up with the sound of those running up and down one of the main lines near where I grew up. Now these are an evolution, let's say. The same layout, cab at one end, which wasn't popular in Britain, but which seems to be more popular in the Antipodes. So quite often these would run end to end, and I've set up one of these so that it will run end to end with any of the others. They really do perform well on the layout. I may have said that, I may be repeating myself. These survived into the Wrenn era with their plastic bodies. I think a slightly different motor. I've seen the motor on one, and it looks very slightly different to these. I don't know what the 2-rail ones were like as runners. Anyway, we'll disappear into the office and take one of these apart, and I'll show you the innards. So here we are in the office gazing down upon my blue liveried Hornby Dublo Class 20. I bought this specifically for the livery. It's a really good paint job. And I've undone the fixing screw here with a pretty decent sized screwdriver, because it's a pretty decent sized screw, or at least the head of it is. So we take that out, and that's all that's required to remove this plastic body. And hopefully you can see in there Hornby Dublo Meccano Limited, and that this was originally green. It's a pretty decent model. There's good detail. The handrail is a little bit large, but especially picked out in the blue with the silver on here and around the window. You can see that this is a pretty decent model for the late 1950s in plastic. and it's a good quality plastic. It hasn't curled up like some Triang and early Rovex models. And as I said, I saw the livery, and I thought, well, I must have that. So that's the body. Let's have a look at the mechanism. Now, I couldn't swear that this is the mechanism that came with this body. I've got 5 of these things, and as they have gone through repairs and renovations and retirings and new bits and pieces, the bodies have not necessarily gone back onto the same chassis, but they're all the same in construction. There's this chassis rail here, which is attached to 2 independent 4-wheel bogies. Now, I haven't had a look inside the Hornby Dublo EMU. I haven't had a look inside a Wrenn Brighton Bell either. So I don't know whether this motor is entirely unique to this model, but what we can see is that it's quite different to the other diesel motors, which were Ringfields. This is not a Ringfield motor. It's got many features that you would recognize from Trix or Triang motors, such as the way in which these brushes are secured in place. Plungers similar to both the 8F and the Castle, and I think they're an excellent system. It weighs a fair bit. There's some good solid ballast here. The magnet is up in here. This I have never taken apart, and the magnet's reasonably strong. These are all very good runners. The biggest problem is if the tyres get a bit worn, as this tyre here is, they can wobble a bit, but that's just a matter of removing this frame here, which is, you can just see the end of the screw there. It takes a very small screwdriver. You can just get in there. You can remove these frames. These are metal frames, and it's very easy to access the tyres, strip them off, clean the wheel, and replace them. The biggest problem with tyres, and this goes for all of my Dublo models which run tyres, is that the climate here in Victoria, Australia, sometimes has us at temperatures above 40 degrees, and these live in my unair-conditioned garage. So what I try and make sure is that these things don't sit on the tracks. They sit in a cabinet, and when I want to use them, I take them down and use them so that things don't get so warm, because the temperature inside that garage could easily reach 50 degrees or more, especially if the sun is beating down on the door, and you can get flat spots and fairly serious deterioration of the rubber on these tyres. I've got a good supplier. I don't have any quibbles with the supplier. When I lived in a colder climate, this wasn't a problem. Okay, so what have we got here? Well, the brushes are here. They're easy to remove and replace. They're slightly longer than the brushes that you'll see on other Hornby Dublo locomotives, which have a similar setup to this, such as the early Castles, the early 8Fs, and the Ginties, I think. The magnet setup is reminiscent of early Dublo. We've got a magnet in here and these bars down here, except that this is, instead of being horizontal, it's vertical. The armature is in here. We have drives here onto metal gears. All in all, it's a pretty solid feeling object. These can come off. There's no problem taking the chassis rail off. I think if you wanted to mess around with the length of this and maybe put a different body on it, it wouldn't be a big job at all. What else is there to say about it? We've done the pickups, we've done the tires, we've done the side frames. I don't know whether this applies to all of these, but what I have found is that a number of these prefer to run cab first. It shouldn't make any difference, but some do. But I noticed that with a lot of my diesels, they prefer to run in one direction rather than another, and that may have to do with the way that the gearing is set or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, what I've done is I've taken one of these and I've reversed the magnet, not this one. So I just turned the magnet round. So if you can imagine cab here, end to end, and we get kind of prototypical running, which I'll show you in a little while. These have proved to be the least troublesome of any of the diesels that any of the Hornby Dublo diesels that I've owned. They're extremely robust. They made it through to life with Wrenn along with the 08, and I've seen a Wrenn motor, and it struck me as being slightly different to this. I don't think all parts are interchangeable. I've not had the benefit of running a Wrenn Class 20 or a Hornby Dublo 2-rail Class 20. I know that the Hornby Dublo Class 20s that were 2-rail were not entirely successful. That had to do with pickups, I think, but these are excellent. Just keep the wheels clean, keep the contacts clean, and everything is fine. They are not great pullers, I found, but it's horses for courses, I guess. And these are plastic bodied. They're from the late 1950s, and I think it's a good idea to run these with super detail wagons. The train is not so heavy, and at the time that these came out, Hornby Dublo was regularly producing new super detail wagons, and so that's what I've tended to do with this. Short tin plate trains, longer super detail trains. Anyway, you'll see this. Probably this one with a super detail train behind it in a little while. The shots where you see this running with two other Class 20s, and I think double heading a train, they're taken from a running day that I had here maybe a year or two ago, and I just had some video from that, and I included it in this. Anyway, let's get out to the layout. See this running with cabs and at either end, and see a train being pulled by it. It occurs to me that I may have been a little bit casual when I said you can simply reverse the magnet in this, and you can have cab running at either end with two Class 20s. Now this is the Class 20 that runs in the wrong direction. You can see it's an original green livery, and I think the detail is even more impressive. But anyway, let's just have a quick look at how you reverse things. Now, it's a pretty simple process. Take off this chassis rail. That can just sit to one side. Now this comes off. I won't take the whole thing apart, but I'll show you what has to, in my experience, has to come off. That comes off. There's a screw here. I hope you can see that. That undoes, and what that's doing is it's holding this ballast block. And once that comes out, let's get that out. That's probably the longest one to remove. This can be moved a tiny bit. Now you loosen off the nut and bolt here. So this, you can see really clearly now, hopefully, how reminiscent of old Hornby Dublo motors this is. It's basically just a vertical version. And you've got enough movement here with this loosened off that you can simply pry the magnet out gently, turn it over, and put everything back together again. Now, I have done that with this, and you can see that it really hasn't taken terribly long to undo all this. I'll just hand tighten this stuff now so that I don't lose anything. It took me about 5 minutes to do this. And if you've got an exploded diagram of one of these things, it gives you an even better idea of what to do. So you can see, assuming that the magnet isn't too sticky, this one was a little bit, but it really didn't take much to remove it. There we are, done in about 5 minutes. And I have not gone to the trouble of remagnetizing this. I'll just tighten up some of these screws so that I'll just get in there. Yep. And reattach the chassis. There we are. There we are. That's that. Everything's moving nicely, and this officially runs in the wrong direction, and that's how it's done. So this will run like that. I just pulled another Class 20 off the shelf to show you that, and it'll just run nicely like that. Okay, so a little bit more running, and that'll be the end of the video. I realize it's been a long video. I hope it's been interesting. Thanks very much for watching.